Hi guys, thank you for joining me. Many of the younger people probably don't know that today, December 7th, marks a historical moment in U.S. history when the Japanese military attacked Pearl Harbor 80 years ago today. Besides attacking the 8 battleships that were anchored there in Pearl Harbor, they simultaneously were to take out the airfields, crippling U.S. forces to protect the Asian Pacific area. This image here was taken by a Japanese aircraft at the start of the attack on Pearl Harbor. The Japanese also had at least 2 submarines that they torpedoed boats there in the harbor. The USS Oklahoma, the USS West Virginia, and the USS Arizona were bombed and hit by torpedoes. That's just to name a few of the ships that we lost on that day. The USS Arizona had the highest losses. 1,177 crew members died on that vessel. A total of 2,403 Americans were killed and 1,143 were injured. 18 ships were sunk or run aground, including 5 battleships. In 2 waves of attacks, and you can see one plane here, another plane there, the Japanese used 357 different types of aircraft to attack Pearl Harbor. In less than 2 hours after the attack began, the U.S. Pacific Fleet lost 21 ships, or they were damaged. Aircraft losses were 188 destroyed and 159 damaged. The majority of the aircraft that was lost were hit before they even had a chance to take off. This here is an image of the memorial for the USS Arizona, which had the greatest loss of life. Of the 2,403 American casualties, 68 of them were civilians. Japanese losses were comparatively light. 29 planes, less than 10% of the attacking force, failed to return to their aircraft carriers. At 7 a.m. when the Japanese aircraft were coming, the first wave, a radar station at Opama spotted the approaching first wave of the attack force. The officers who received the report did not consider them significant enough to take action. They evidently passed it off as an approaching group of American planes due to arrive that morning. This here is an image of the inside of the memorial for the USS Arizona. It reads, "To the memory of the gallant men here entombed, and their shipmates who gave their lives in action on December 7th, 1941 on the USS Arizona." Another memorial plaque put up by the survivors of Pearl Harbor. It was put up on December 7th, 1984. Prior to the attack, similar to what's going on with China right now, for decades, relations between the U.S. and Japan was strained. The actual declaration made by Japan against the U.S. was not made until the following day, December 8th. Said about trade negotiations, much like what's going on here with the U.S. and China. And when the U.S. ceased oil exports to Japan in July of 1941, I think that was the last straw. In 1940, Japan invaded French Indonesia. This was an attempt to stop supplies from reaching China. The United States then halted shipments of airplane parts, machine tools, and aviation gasoline to Japan. These sanctions, Japan said, was an unfriendly act. So after the Japanese seized the French Indonesian islands, that's when the U.S. cut off their oil supplies, July of 1941. By that time, Japan had already taken China, and like I've said before, China forgets the history. When the U.S. entered the war, the Allies saved China's butt. After the oil was cut off, Japan then offered to withdraw from most of China and Indonesia and refrain from trade discrimination. But it stipulated that all other nations would do the same. They wanted all the sanctions that had been applied to Japan to be lifted. But the negotiations was not accepted. We wanted them to evacuate all of China with no conditions at all. The Japanese planned out their attack at the same time that they attacked Pearl Harbor. They also attacked the U.S.-held Philippines, Guam, and Wake Island, and on the British-controlled island, Malaya, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Remember, only recently did we give Hong Kong back to China. And we've seen how that worked out, right, with all the loss of democratic liberties there. The anger with the Japanese ended up backlashing on American Japanese descendants that were living here in the United States, and internment camps were opened up across the U.S. And this is a map of them. They evidently had them all the way down in Texas, a lot of them in California. In California alone, there was over 93,000 Japanese Americans that were sent to internment camps. They took away their property, took away their homes, their businesses, etc. It was horrible what we did to Japanese descendants that were born and raised here in the United States. But the American people were afraid of sabotage, spies, and what they were not allowed was taken, probably sold off to auction. Here you can see this little boy's got a tag. They gave him tags to wear so that family members could stay together in the camps. This here is an image of the First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, visiting one of the relocation camps. They were given, according to this document, as little as 10 days to pack up what they could. They were only allowed to take with them what they could carry. So many of these people ended up selling off what they had dirt cheap. Many of the homes that were left empty were vandalized, burnt down. Squatters moved into them. In this article, it talks about one of the lucky few who kept their house. With a little smartness, they rented their house to a minister. And the money, evidently, from the rent was sent to his father in the incarceration camp. It was basically a prison camp. The hatred for the Japanese people carried on for decades after the war. I had a neighbor that fought in the war. He worked in the shipyards. He flat out refused, all the way up to his death, to buy anything that was made in Japan. Here it says, in many cases, the land was taken because of unpaid taxes and mortgages. Even now, I know here in the U.S. we have Chinese spies. Many of the corrupt Chinese people are taking the money and moving to the United States and different parts of the world. Down the street from my mother, there is a fellow from China, and she saw him through her back window, him burying barrels of something in the back outside of the fence on the cliff overlooking the ocean. And you wonder, what was the fellow burying in a large barrel? I mean, this was a drum, probably a 55-gallon drum. What was he burying in the backyard? So even now, you wonder, if we go to war with China, and we all feel just like they did before the war with Japan, that war is coming. The same things are going on with negotiations with China as they were with Japan before the war. We got the sanctions, we got the trade embargoes, the taxes that we put on their goods, because they undercut U.S. and other foreign countries' goods, trying to take over the markets. So thank you for watching. Put your comments down below. I certainly hope we don't ever have the concentration internment camps again if there's another war. The U.S. does have political prisoners right now. Those people, I believe there's 40 of them right now in jail that were part of the protests and going into the Capitol, are still in jail. They're in a jail just for themselves, all by themselves, not mixed with other prisoners. No bail is allowed for any of those people. Still no court date has been arranged. They figure they won't have a court date until sometime next year, 2022. So if we're doing that now, yeah, maybe internment camps with another war could happen again. I don't know. What do you think? Please put your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, taking your time to watch my videos. Thank you very much for your support. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you.